Oh, wait. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Hey, what's up? I just wanted to open up in a fun way tonight. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another Siser After Dark. Today we are talking all things sublimation. I'm super excited about this one and to talk about all things sublimation. Talk about some of the innovations that Siser has come up with over the last few years as well in the world of sublimation. And hopefully, just as we do every week, try to learn you a thing or two about the world of Siser. As you guys know, for anybody that's been in any of these After Darks, a couple of ground rules or a couple of things to go over. I guess some would call it house cleaning items. If you are registered for this event or you're registered for any of the Siser After Dark classes, know that you get follow-up emails and marketing opportunities and stuff like that. So if you aren't able to be here live with us, don't worry about it. We'll always get you an email right after the live so that you can watch the replay right away. Secondly to that, for this week and next week's After Dark, we're going to continue on the same schedule of doing the After Dark on Thursday night, and then we're going to repost it Friday for you guys to view. Now, moving after next week, we're actually going to be going to a little bit of a new schedule. We'll be coming to you twice a month. We're going to switch the days over to Wednesdays and keep it still at that 7 o'clock hour. And guys, if you want to blame anybody, blame me. I'm the one to blame in the room. Sometimes schedules don't line up perfectly, but nevertheless, it's important to us to come at the After Dark hour for you so that you guys have an awesome opportunity, an awesome time, and hopefully learn some stuff from us like we always say. But if you guys have any questions or need anything, for any of these After Darks, we got the grammatical gatekeeper himself in the room monitoring comments right now, Adam Sneeve, and we got Maya, the queen bee of marketing, in here as well, hopping in the comments, answering live in the studio. And I know we got a ton of other people. I already see Cortez in there. Kristen's an awesome resource. Roseanne Heller's in all of them. You know what I'm going to say already, Roseanne. But we got a ton of other Siser employees, but also some Siser friends, brand ambassadors, and partners of ours that are hanging out in the comments. So if for whatever reason you have questions, we're going to try to answer them all today. And hopefully we have a really, really fun live. So without further ado, or do, as I always say on our normal lives, let's get started in the world of sublimation. So today we're going to talk about not only what is sublimation for anybody brand new, because it's a really fun science experiment if you didn't know this. So it's really cool when you learn about sublimation. I love teaching my kids some of this stuff as well, and they get to kind of learn about the world of sublimation. We kind of grow and learn through science as well, but also we're going to press some actual sublimation prints and what the use case for it is. Then we're going to move over into a material that we came up with a few years ago called Easy Subli. After that, we're going to go and just test. Today is a fun one. We're going to stay out of software for the full time, or not the whole time, but we're going to be testing a bunch of different products and how they sublimate, what works best, and hopefully give you some pro tips. But then after that, we're going to wrap this whole thing up with doing some fun coloring with some sublimation markers, which is another product we have here. And then we'll send you on your way, and now you're a sublimation pro. So to get us started, sublimation is actually, I told you, it's a little science experiment. It's a fun one. Sublimation is actually taking dye. Let's go right here, sublimation dye, which is a very specific kind of dye. So for anybody out there, this is not the same as like your eco solvent, your solvents, your UV prints, or your latex prints. And it's definitely not the same as your normal pigment ink or your desktop inks that you would get every single day, just so you're aware. So with that, did I scare you with that? Oh, okay. You just look like you were scared there for a second. Thought I scared Maya already. So anyways, but sublimation is printing on a specific paper that will transfer that ink and a transferable ink that will actually dye typically your white polyester garments. Okay, so polyester is kind of the key word in sublimation. That is what really will accept those inks. And depending on how high the polyester count is in your shirt also depends on the vibrancy of your print. So for something like this, that's 100% polyester. It's obviously like a moisture wicking shirt. This will accept 100% of that ink. Well, it's a really easy math problem. If I have a 60-40 blend, that means that I am 60% polyester, which is higher than 50% of my garment count, 60% polyester, and then 40% blended of cottons and other materials. So if you do want to ever get in the world of sublimation, just know that traditionally with standard sublimation ink, standard sublimation printing, and standard sublimation application is typically 100% or 60% or more of polyester in your garment. to be able to accept those inks. So let's just really quickly, I got kind of a test shirt that we're going to be using throughout the live today. Let's actually dye this shirt right now and kind of explain what sublimation actually is. So sublimation is a fun process, like I mentioned before. It's actually the process of taking a liquid and turning it directly into a gas and completely missing the solid stage. So where you would typically boil some water, all of that kind of stuff, it goes from liquid, ice cubes, then gas. This kind of skips that middle step and actually will dye the garment. Oh, I know my stuff. You can check me, fact check me on it, Maya. All day you can fact check me, all day in this one. So with that, I'm going to first off just start by pre-pressing out my garment. And with sublimation prints, because it's typically at a higher temperature than your standard, what we want to also do is we want to not necessarily press it for a full 10 seconds. It's not necessary in all cases. So we're going to take our little ducky here, full color print. Are you fact checking me? Good. Fact check me.
I am fact checking you.
Good. What does the fact say?
Sublimation is going from a solid state
God
directly to
bless
a
America.
gaseous state, bypassing the liquid.
I want to apologize to everybody because I had that in my brain. I said liquid instead of, thank you so much. Now I know why you looked at me funny. Okay. Solid state is giving the liquid state and going directly into a gas. All right. So we got that answer. So with sublimation, what we want to also make sure that we do is protecting our heat press. Oh, is super, super important. Let me go out of software here. Protecting our heat press is super important, not only making sure that the bottom platen is protected, but the upper platen. So what we're going to do, because we have just a shirt contact to the lower platen, I want to cover that up and make it really easy. Now, this is your best friend when it comes to sublimation. You grab yourself some cheap disposable material. So using parchment paper. What is Yohan texting you? Oh, you proved him wrong now. Of course he knew that. Thanks, Yohan. I don't know why I missed that one little fact. I'm sorry. But anyways, we're going to take some parchment paper. We're going to throw it on the lower platen. This is just going to protect our lower platen in case we get any dye that actually migrates all the way through our shirt. Typically, we should be fine, but you never know, and we want to protect it anyways. But what's most important when we are sublimating white polyester or any type of garment is we want to make sure that we protect the top side of our print, or sorry, the back side of our print, but top side of our heat press. And the big reason why we want to make sure that we protect that is that the ink has more tendency to actually migrate through the back side of our print itself than it would to go down through the garment. So nevertheless, we just want to make sure that we have some coverage above and below. Now with this traditional sublimation, you're going to heat apply it anywhere around 380 degrees all the way up to 400 degrees, depending on the ink, depending on the environment and what you're applying to. So for this one, I kept kind of a standard heat setting for the entire live today of about 380 degrees, somewhere in the middle. But remember, as we talked about, not only in the heat transfer material lives, we talked about also in some of the creating SVG lives as well, is that if we ever have a time where we need to decrease the temperature or maybe increase the temperature, we also have to combat that with the time as well. So if we're bringing the temperature down, we want to apply a little bit longer than we traditionally would. So this will give you a really good example. On the back side of this print, as you can see, let me go over to here. There we go. On the back side of this print, as you can see, it actually dyed through the back of the paper. So that's really important on why we use parchment to protect that. Now, there is a question that a lot of you are going to ask. Can I use parchment paper? Can I use the same print multiple times in a row? Yes, you can in some cases. With parchment paper, I'm a little bit more weary. And the reason being is that sometimes the parchment paper has tendency to be dyed as well, which can then ghost onto or dye onto another print. So let's just show you the print really quick. And we'll actually press the same exact print next to this one to kind of see what that color does over a couple of presses. So right there, you can already see that print's super vibrant, super bright. But the cool part about sublimation is, unlike a heat transfer, unlike a DTV or any other materials, it's completely flat. You can't feel it on the garment itself. It has no body to it. It's just dyed onto the fabric itself. So let's go ahead really quick before we jump too deep into the live. Let's actually press one directly next to this little ducky. And we're going to use the same exact print, because what I want to see is, how does the color vary after the second press to the first press? And do we really get that much of a color variation, which is pretty common with sublimation? Okay. While that's pressing out though, let's go. Do we have any questions really quickly in the comments that aren't going to stump me right now.
How do you avoid having a paper edge mark when pressing?
Having a paper edge mark when pressing?
So when you have your sublimation printed, there's the edge of the paper and it creates a marking.
I haven't had that happen very often. That one is actually a really good question. Do you know the answer to that one? Because I don't.
One of the answers that was given in the
that's one that I rarely have that, so I never have really had to deal with it.
Was that the pressure might be too high.
Cool.
And then avoiding that mark, even with high pressure, by feathering the edge of the
paper itself. Okay, there you go. There's your 2 little pro tips. But as you can see right here on the heat press cam for this one, already as we've gotten from the first press to the second press, you can already see that we're starting to lose or fade that color a little bit, okay? So this will answer the first question that I know a lot of people have about sublimation is like, when I make a print, is it completely wasted? Yes and no. If you're okay with a little bit of fading from print to print or from press to press, then there you go. That's kind of what your results look like. But also you can always, as we always recommend with sublimation paper itself that you can print, it's a pretty reasonable cost. So it is something that I can print one or I can print a bunch on a sheet and then either save them for later, because these prints last quite a long time before really the ink starts to like migrate through or starts to fade out or anything like that. Okay. So that is your standard sublimation process. This is what everybody has used for many, many years of pressing onto white polyester. What we're going to do after Maya's question here, we're going to actually jump right into something that we created at Siser that helps if you have different color garments.
How do you get a sublimation print in the first place?
A sublimation printer. Is that what you're asking? Okay, I thought you're, I don't know why I have this feeling you're trying to stump me right now with that. So yeah, so anytime when I did mention the F170 here that I'm using, so we're using the F170 by Epson, which is an eco tank printer. It's just kind of sitting off to the side. However, with sublimation, Sawgrass is probably a name that you guys have heard in the past or hear regularly. Sublimation specific printers are different ink sets, as we mentioned up front, than a standard pigment ink printer or something like an eco solvent. So it is a very specific printer, very specific ink. And I realized, can you, right on the metal shelf, can you see there's a plastic bin if we have any of our easy Subli packs, ink packs, so I can at least show the ink itself. If not, I can go to the website. It's not a big deal. So sublimation printer prints out onto your sublimation paper, and then you can transfer that design on over to your garment, which again is traditionally, okay, I'll show it on the website, is traditionally a white polyester. Okay, so a few years ago, people challenged us, or the audience challenged us, to finding a new innovative way to be able to create full color prints with their already existing expensive sublimation printer, because sometimes the printers can be expensive. But how do we get on any other materials besides, number one, a polyester? But what if I have, let's say, a black cotton t-shirt? How do I do that? Well, one of the fun parts about Siser and about our jobs here is we get to always create new, innovative, fun things here. So one of those were Easy Subli. Now, what Easy Subli was, it was made in conjunction with our friends over at Sawgrass at the time that we made it, and it was a heat transfer material that accepts sublimation inks. So I want to kind of show you this really quick. I'll go over to the heat press cam. So Easy Subli starts out like any other, regular printer paper. The only difference is it has a little bit of a feel to it. It's just a slightly thicker heat transfer material that once you print onto the material, use your registration marks from your home cutting system, you can then do what's called a print then cut, which most of you guys know what print and cut is. And if not, refer back to the last class. We cover all of that stuff. You print, cut, and then you can actually weed out this material like a normal printable material and then heat apply it to any garment. So there's no more of, hey, I have this really expensive printer, but now I got to buy this new technology just to be able to print on a dark garment. You can use the existing print technology that you have as long as it's sublimation ink. And if you have a Sawgrass specific, Easy Subli will actually feed directly through. If you don't have a Sawgrass, we're going to show you another method here at the end of the live, or midway through the live, where we can apply our print with registration marks directly to the material, and then we'll be able to cut that out on our home cutter. What's up, Adam?
A quick question, just to go back to the last print before we get too far, what time did you use when you were pressing?
That's a really good question. So for this one, traditionally with sublimation, again, it's 380 degrees, temperature of around, I'm sorry, 380 to 400 degrees, a time of around anywhere from like 35 to 45 seconds traditionally. For this particular one right now, I have it set at right around 35 seconds. But anywhere in that 35 to 45 seconds is going to give your sublimation print enough time to kind of gas out, dye the fabric, and or solidify it into your material. Alrighty, so now it's a good note though too, as a segue into the Easy Subli conversation, because I actually have a print that I've already printed and cut out for us today, just to kind of make sure that we're moving along in the live and we're showing you all the important information. But with Easy Subli itself, like I said, this works with your normal, if you have a Sawgrass brand printer, this will feed directly through your printer. But if you have something like an Epson, like I have behind me, or you have another, maybe it's a Canon, a Brother, another type of sub printer, you can actually sublimate directly onto the material, print and cut it out like normal, and then apply it. So, but first, let's get into the actual application. And as you can see with the sublimation print that I have here on our Easy Subli by Siser, I've already cut, we've already weeded. And because this is all one solid shape, just like our Easy Color DTV, if you remember any of our conversations in the Print and Cut Live, I can just peel this directly off of the actual backing, and I can apply it or just press it directly onto this garment itself. So because it's all one solid shape. Now, if for whatever reason that you have a bunch of cavities or you have a bunch of smaller elements into your designs, there is an Easy Subli mask that'll allow you to actually pick up and transfer this as well. But I know a lot of you guys out there are like, hey, Pat, we know how to transfer material. We just want to see you press and we want to see how fun the colors look after. I get it. I get it. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and thread on my black t-shirt right here. Okay. And I'm just going to give this a quick little pre-press. Not going to spend a lot of time on the pre-press because remember the temperature is up a little bit warm. And the nice thing is with the Easy Subli, because I have the temperature up a little bit higher, like we mentioned earlier, I can now drop the time and press for a lot less time than I normally would. So let's go ahead and apply our design. We're just going to lay it down. Make sure that it's a little even Steven here. There we go. Cool. And now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just double checking to make sure my parchment paper doesn't have any ink on it because we always don't want our ink to transfer. This one looks good. I'm going to go ahead and cover up my design. And I'm just going to simply press. And for this one, I'm going to press it for about 5 to 8 seconds because, again, with the temperature up super high, Easy Subli typically presses at a lower temp. We're going to actually show that here in a second. But you can see, well, I always love showing this part. This is what Easy Subli started out like. And this is what Easy Subli looks like after it's been applied. Check that out. The vibrancy alone is insane with Easy Subli. So there you go. There's your print to your press. So that's one thing to talk about too, as Maya referred to and corrected me and did a very good job. Thank you. As the process of sublimation happens, your prints actually come out much more vibrant. So a lot of times when we see these prints, we'll see them on either Easy Subli or printed on a sublimation paper. And we naturally think in our head, well, if the color's really muted right now, how is it going to actually translate? Well, we've already seen in 2 tests, not only using Easy Subli to go on dark cottons, but also being able to use regular sublimation, that the print is much more vibrant after we actually heat apply it. What's up?
What is the difference between Easy Color DTV and Easy Subli?
Ooh, I like that question. So the biggest difference between Easy Color DTV and Easy Subli are the inks that they are applied to. Now, there's some, what am I trying to say? There's some attributes that are different. Easy Color DTV is a lot thinner product, whereas Easy Subli is slightly thicker. Easy Color DTV also feels more like a paper. I don't want to say paper because it's a heat transfer material, but it feels more like you're putting in a piece of computer paper as opposed to Easy Subli. Has a little bit more rigidity or roughness to it that allows it to accept those inks, those sublimation inks. So the other biggest thing, like I said, is the ink set. With Easy Subli, the Subli comes from, it is a sublimatable material, and the Easy Color DTV is direct to vinyl, which can be used on a normal pigment ink printer or eco-solvent printer, or you can just use a Sharpie on it as well. Cool? Good answer? Bad answer? All right. What's up, Adam?
When using cotton, do you need to put parchment paper on the bottom?
Okay, so that's one thing that I will say. You may see me in lives do that regardless. You don't necessarily have to, especially with a product like an Easy Subli. It is, all of the ink is on the actual surface of the material. It's not actually physically dyeing into the fabric, much like a normal sublimation print would be. So with that, I don't really have to do anything to preserve the bottom side, but you should always make sure. It doesn't matter if it's Easy Subli, if it's a regular sublimation or ink print, you should always cover the top just to protect the top platen. You have less likelihood of your prints ghosting from the bottom than you would from obviously the heating element of your heat press. Okay, hopefully that makes sense, but that's kind of my 2 cents on that process. Cool? What's up, Maya?
With Easy Subli, do you mirror your design?
Ooh, good question as well. I like that one. So with Easy Subli, do you mirror your design? No. It's pretty simple. So Easy Subli, the one attribute that Easy Subli and Easy Color DTV have is we don't mirror like we do with a normal heat transfer material or a normal like back printed type print. With Easy Subli, you will feed your print in the right orientation that you can read it. It'll put your registration marks on it, and you're able to cut the exact orientation that you would read it. For a sublimation print, however, if it's a normal sublimation print, as you can see with this print here and this print, it actually, you do need to print it mirrored to apply it. Or like this, I don't care what direction the duck goes, so it doesn't make a difference. But if you have a specific direction, you would then have to mirror your print. One note though, I will say for anybody that is like in this live doing some research, dipping a toe in the water, sublimation, and may go out and buy a printer. By default, most sublimation printers automatically mirror in the settings your design. So if you are noticing you run those first couple of prints and your design is mirrored, you need to go into your settings and then probably your additional preference menu and turn the mirror off, because by design, a sublimation print is meant to be mirrored so that it's the right orientation when you heat apply it. What's going on, Adam?
How long should you wait for the Easy Subli print to dry?
That's a really good question. So with normal sublimation inks, you pretty much can print and go. With Easy Subli, there's 2 ways that you can do it. I think on the website, I'm just going to double check really quick, because I want to say on the website that we say 24 hours, but I want to show you a quick little trick if that's the case. But I don't want to lie to you. I want to stay consistent with what we have. So with Easy Subli, application, Where are we at here? Okay, cool. So yeah, so with that, we recommend for you to allow your sublimation prints to dry for an extended period of time. But I'll tell you one little trick that you can do, okay? So I want to actually hop over to the heat press. Now, this isn't like it 100% dries your print, but this will get you partially to the way there so you can dry your ink enough so that you're able to actually go ahead and cut it on your home cutting system, and you don't have to worry about the rollers falling over your print or anything. So as you can see with this heat press right now, I can stick my finger inside of there. So I've given myself enough room with the upper platen lowered all the way so that I can actually fit an object in between. So what I would do with an Easy Subli print it directly from your printer. I usually throw it right on the heat press for about 45 seconds. And again, with that gap there, all you're doing is letting that radiant heat start to dry the design itself, or start to dry the ink. And in the case that you have a printer, or I'm sorry, not a printer, but a cutting machine like a Silhouette, or maybe you have the Bug, that might be a little bit harder to read some of those faded registration marks. This will actually start to bring out some of the color of your design as well, so that once you go to the cutting stage, you don't have to necessarily worry about those registration marks not being vibrant or dark enough to actually read. So just like that, I can show you. That's right off the printer. And this is an example right before the printer. So you can definitely see that the pinks are much more vibrant. The actual crop marks, they show up quite a bit better in between both prints. But this one right here is dry enough that I could send this on over to the cutter and actually cut it out without a problem. Alrighty. So with that, do we got any other questions on standard sublimation? Because I want to start playing with some stuff now. Oh, the inks. Yeah, I didn't bring the inks down with me. I thought I had them. But we do have as well I did have them down here. That stinks. Okay. So we do have as well here at Siser, with our friends over at Sawgrass, we actually made an ink that's specific for the Sawgrass. So if you have a 1000, a 500, a 400, or an 800, we actually have inks that are Easy Subli inks by Siser that you can purchase from your local resellers, distributors, or wherever you get your Siser products from that work in conjunction with your Sawgrass specific printer. So any of my Sawgrass friends in there, definitely if you haven't already tried our inks, they're super vibrant. I really like them a lot. Alrighty, let's move on now to one of my favorite things. Now, a few years ago, when we brought out Easy Subli, a lot of you started challenging us more of like, what else can you guys create? What else can you come up with? Well, my buddy Joe did an awesome video here at Siser where he was showing all of the heat transfer materials that actually accept sublimation inks. And we threw all of that information over on our website. So heading on over to the Siser NA website at www.siserna.com, going to the sublimation section and then sublimation compatible materials, we will find a laundry list of compatible materials. Now, we're going to talk about all of these as we're pressing them because some operate better than others and some, we'll definitely talk about some of the things you need to do to prepare. But with that, I brought in a bunch of these materials, a bunch of samples of these materials, and a bunch of sublimation prints. So I say we just kind of go right down the list and we start pressing some of these and seeing what gives us the most vibrancy, so that when you're doing your research, now you can refer back to the Siser Live and say, hey, they showed me all of this. I know exactly what materials work on what prints. So, all right, you guys saw the one little rubber ducky, but I got this little cool guy too. So we're going to use him as well as some of this explanation. But let's head on over into the glitter category first. So the first one that I have up here is rainbow white glitter. Now, what's really great about rainbow white glitter or any rainbow type glitters, meaning that they have the rainbow color effect in them, is that they actually help to bring out the vibrancy of some of those prints. Now, what I'm going to do, I'll show you guys also a little trick. If you have a Teflon or a non-stick sheet, okay, so more like your grill paper type sheets, throw that on your bottom platen. And what we can actually do is we can cut up some of these samples, take them right off the carrier, and we can just heat apply them directly onto directly onto our Teflon. But we're also going to use our little scrap t-shirt to put some of these down just so you can see the difference. You got any questions? Okay, cool. I like it. All right, so first thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to cut a little piece off. So I have a nice little square to work with. That works for me. And then now what we're going to do is we're just going to simply remove the carrier from our glitter material, okay? Then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to throw it directly on top of the Teflon sheet. There we go. Right on top of that Teflon sheet or that non-stick paper. And because we're here, let's also go with the regular white too, so we can kind of get both side by side and see which one gives us probably the best print. So got a rainbow white glitter. And then right next to it, we're going to actually do just a regular white glitter, which the big difference between the regular white glitter and the rainbow white really are just the speckling in it. One obviously has more vibrant of colors. One is more of just like a gray and black speckles in it. So we're going to go ahead and put one there. And we're going to lay one print down on there. And I know a lot of you already are telling yourself, like, Patrick, how are you going to heat apply this and trust it? Well, definitely with non-stick or non-stick coated bottom cover sheet, it definitely helps to be able to do this. So let's go ahead and cover that up with our parchment paper. Now, because we're doing a bunch of tests, I'm going to use a new piece of parchment paper every time. But we're going to go in, adjust our heat press all the way back down, which, funny enough, I realized on this heat press, I can tell how much I adjust it because of where the grease is. It's all kind of like spilled up to the top where the press is normally at. All right. So let's go ahead and heat apply that. Now, again, we're at about 380 to 390 degrees, and we're right at about 35 to 40 seconds. So I'm just going to let this bake underneath. Now, it is common for anybody that's never done sublimation before. Don't freak out if you see some smoke coming from the sides of your heat press. It's not your heat press exploding. It's actually that process of the ink gassing itself out, but going from a solid to a gas, not a liquid, just so we're on the same page.
Do you have any heat press tips for sublimation? So auto press.
Yeah. So the big thing with sublimation is pressure. Okay. And the other big thing with sublimation is consistency in the press. And what I'll tell you two things with that. Let me just pull these off. We're just going to pull this whole thing off and let it cool down just for a second before we actually peel them, because I don't want to burn my fingers. With the heat press itself, there's two things you have to look out for. Number one, an adequate amount of pressure. So if you guys have a lot of those auto presses where you're having problems with puff, sometimes we can have some issues with sublimation. It doesn't mean all the time. Test your own heat presses at your house. But the other thing is making sure that the press is consistent. So when I press this down, I just want to press it down and close that upper platen or close the press. If I get into a habit of maybe pressing it down and lifting it up and then pressing again, what ends up happening is what's called ghosting. And ghosting is pretty simple. It means that you've pressed your main design, your design has shifted ever so slightly, and now you've pressed it again. Or you may notice that a lot of times around your prints on your actual garments that you're doing, around your prints it might look a little, what is it called, feathered or grainy around the edges. That typically means that you're having some shifting in your print. So a really good option to have as well, right next to that heat press, is a little bit of that Siser heat tape. This will allow that print at least to stay on the material long enough for you to get that press and that press closed all the way and not risk you shifting or anything like that. So, all right. So now we can take this on off. Look at that. Because it's nonstick, it rips right off. And just like that, we have a really cool, vibrant print. And that one right there is actually the rainbow white. And this actually gives you a real good example. My print's mirrored, so when I press it, it will show the right way for me. And then we have the regular white. So you can even see on these two prints, side by side, that the rainbow white has a little bit better color vibrancy, and it's a lot of that additional color pixels or speckles that actually make up that rainbow pattern inside the material itself. There you go. All right, so we got two down, and we'll kind of go over all of these again towards the end. So we got two down. Now let's go on to the next couple of glitter materials that we have. So we have silver and then silver confetti. So I got silver here. Let's go ahead and cut that on up. Am I giving anxiety because I'm wasting a lot of material right now? All right. I'm probably giving the audience anxiety right now. Sorry, guys. Listen, I'm wasting material, which all of these go into our scrap giveaways. So have no fear. I'm just making more room for us to do a scrap giveaway. But I promise I'm wasting some material for good reason to teach you guys. And that's okay. So we got a regular silver here. We're going to pull right off the carrier. And because there's not a huge distinction between these two, as far as like the color difference, I'm going to go ahead and put my regular silver to one side. And then let me grab my silver confetti, which again has some of those rainbow speckles in it. That'll be good. All righty here. Take that off the carrier. There. So here's why I really wanted to start getting into some color. So I have my regular silver on this side. I have my rainbow silver on this side. What we're going to do is we're actually going to go ahead and press the same exact designs out again with this. But what you're going to start to notice is that when the color of the material changes, it obviously changes the look of your sublimation print. Now, if this comes down to, let's say I have a lot of silver in this print itself, I want to make sure we're not done. We're good. If I have a lot of silver in this print itself, obviously that color is going to completely wash out of the print where you won't see it. So another great tip, and we'll get into that as we get into some more yellow, is that we have to start thinking a little bit forward about the way that we design. If I know that I'm going to apply this to a yellow material, I may just eliminate the color of the body. If I know that I'm going to actually press this onto an orange material, I may eliminate the actual beat color because I know that that color will be filled in with my print itself. So just want to show you too, as we start to get down the line of some of the other colors and colorways that you can use to make this work, sometimes it does affect the outcome of your print or the overall look of what you can get. So I'm going to test my fingertips here. We're just going to apply heat transfer material to my hand. It's fine. Maya's looking at me like you've done worse. We know. Uh-oh. We don't want that to happen. Okay, well, I ruined that one, so we're just going to let this one cool off a little bit. And I'll press another one on there. Here's my print, guys. Awesome. That's the other thing too, is make sure that you give adequate cool time. Don't be like me and try to rush through it to where you mess up and fold your stuff and heat apply it. So with that, we're on the regular silver right here, but you can already see now our color is much less vibrant than like our white material. Okay, so as we get more color into the print, we're going to lose more color potentially in our print. So we just have to take those kind of things into consideration while we're actually printing itself. All right, there's silver. Now let's move on to the next ones here. We have, neon yellow and lemon sugar. Go neon yellow first to start. Let's cut that. Cut that. Let's throw on our nonstick sheet. And then let's take that off the carrier. All right, there we go. And then I'm going to grab some glitter lemon sugar right here. And then we're going to cut this one. Cool. We'll go ahead and take that on off the carrier. And we'll press these two side by side. So now that I have some color that I may lose in my lemon sugar, I'm going to actually start to go on to my duck that's not filled in with color, because we want to use that. And then we're going to show the difference between that and actually using a color on like the neon. You know what? Let's just do this. We're going to print the same one. We're going to keep it all consistent here. All right, we'll go ahead and heat apply that for about 35 seconds to 40 seconds. Do we got any questions coming in over on your guys' side?
How many times have you burned yourself on the heat press?
I lost count at like 1,000 or so. It is, I will say, that's the one thing with sublimation too, guys, is that it's it's a lot hotter than an average print is, okay? I mean, I'm sorry, an average heat application. So there is a lot more likely. I mean, I'm literally like sweating from the press right now over here, but it's also part of, you know, when you're designing and you want to make something really pretty, you obviously take the time. So now that we learned our lesson on the last print, what I'm going to go ahead and do now is I'm going to actually take this entire page off of the press and I'm going to let those cool down a little bit. And the reason why I want to let these prints cool down just a tad before I peel them off of the actual nonstick material I'm using here is just because what it will start to do is solidify that adhesive back again and give more structure to the actual material. The other part of this, what will end up happening as well, is that it will actually help to keep all of that adhesive with the material. Because if we peel it too prematurely, we can have tendency for that adhesive to kind of run away with us too. So now that I'm ready, go back over here. Oop, not the website. You guys don't care about that right now. You care about seeing the results. So right there, that shows you, there's your lemon sugar. We've eliminated the yellow out of the print. Have it with just normal white body, and then we're taking on now the color, obviously, of our material itself. So this is what I was referring to when we take on the color of our material, because we know that certain colors aren't going to show up super well on that print. And then we have our neon as well, which you can see, that's kind of cool. It's a little groovy. Groovy like a drive-in movie, you know? Alrighty, so we've gone through our glitter category. I think what we do right now is we kind of take a quick pause, and I want to explain the holographic category, okay? Holographic heat transfer material works beautifully with sublimation inks. It does work and operate really, really well. What we have noticed is that with certain holographic materials, despite, I know we have everything on our website, certain materials that you actually heat apply sublimation ink to has tendency to actually spill out over time, or like start to ghost or feather out over time, right? So when we do work with any holographic heat transfer materials, just note that for like your holographic crystal, your holographic sky, and your holographic silver type materials, your color and your image may look really great for the start. And then also same with the pearl holographic materials, may look awesome from the start, but over time you'll notice a little bit more fading. So I just want to make sure that we talk about that too. As you guys are trying to learn everything all sublimation, I want to give you the good, the bad, and everything in between. I don't want to just tell you, hey, everything works perfect. Because as you can see, sometimes you get color loss, sometimes it'll fade, and then over time, what does that print look like? Maya, you were actually, we were talking about beforehand about sublimation on certain holographics. Do you want to kind of explain what your thoughts were on those?
So based off of the material that you can sublimate on, there is different levels of ghosting that happens over time.
Yes.
So like what Patrick was saying, where over time certain ones will spread out. With glow in the dark and with the holographic pearls, we've noticed that, especially for the HTV materials, those can spread over time. I think we started noticing it after a few months.
Yeah.
Whereas glitter, we actually haven't noticed any ghosting or spreading of them. So we recommend testing on your own with the materials that you have. Glow in the dark, I think, is very much a fun one to have it actually ghost, depending on the design that you're choosing.
If it's a ghost.
For sure. So that's one where if you're making something that's very seasonal, very one-time event, those are really great ones to try for that anyways.
Of course. Yeah. Thank you so much for that. All right. So we got the regular silver here, and I'm going to do only one of the holographics. I do want to show what it looks like with some holographic material. Or, I'm sorry, one of the pearls. I want to show what it looks like with the holographic, but I definitely want to at least give a little bit of the pearl too.
So when we're talking about ghosting or spreading, it is spreading in the material itself or the HTV itself. So once you apply it to your shirt, it is not going to be spreading onto the shirt.
Correct. Yeah. And I think that's a really good point too, because traditionally with sublimation, if you do experience any of that ghosting, you typically experience it within double pressing, right? So I have a little bit of ghosting here, but you're not going to be able to see it on camera, but you will see that it almost looks like an additional print, but extremely faded. Now with this, you're not going to have so much of movement of your design, but as Maya was saying, it'll start to look more like, be like if you put too much ink in a marker and you just ran it across a paper, it spreads out and it kind of starts to take on the paper itself. Yeah. So let's go ahead now. I'm grabbing our silver crystal and then our regular silver. Or silver confetti, as I think it's called, actually, with the smaller pieces. Again, right on top of our nonstick paper. Let's go ahead. I like the color. See, this is what I get for making designs. I always pick the girls because they're always prettier. They're always prettier in designs. Anyway, all right. Because we are moving on to a new material, though, I do want to change out my parchment paper. And again, these are super cheap. You guys can get parchment paper or anything like that from the dollar store if you need it. And then I'm going to go ahead and just simply heat apply that. Now we're going to let that sit for about 35 seconds or so as we're kind of moving down the road of our testing. And I want to stop to actually tell you about another creation, another kind of innovation that we had here at Siser, where we brought the sublimation ink world into markers. So I actually have some right here. These 3 packs are what we call our Siser sublimation markers. Now they come in 3 different versions of them. They come in black, which comes with 3 different tips, 6 markers. Thank you for that. I just literally looked down at the package too. So there are in here 2 rounded tips, 2 fine point tips, and then 2 chisel tips as well in your black pack. And then we have right here, what is this one? This is the primary. This is the pastel pack. Then we have a pastel pack, which has some really fun colors. Let me actually go right here. So we can show, we got peach, light pink, lavender, light blue, seafoam, light green. There's a lot of color options for you, as well as the primary pack. So we got your basic red, pink, orange, yellow, green, blues, and everything like that. But these sublimation markers are really, really fun. There's a ton of great information too on the back, as well as over on the website, because these markers do have to be primed, correct? Do they not have to be primed right out of the package? I can just use this right now. Cool. All right. Well, we're going to color. Do you want to color something while I'm going through this? I got the skate. Yeah. It's on. Oh, no, this is sub paper. Oh, there's some copy paper in the printer right here. Gotcha. Here we go. All right, Maya's the artiste in the group here. So she's going to go ahead and grab the sublimation markers really quickly. There you go. Say hi while you're there already. There you go. And then she's going to actually work on a quick little design with those sublimation markers so that in a moment here, we can criticize her design skills. No, I'm just kidding. She's pretty good. All right, so I got both of these prints off. Actually, I can just kind of show you right here, because they're already kind of stuck. So right there, you can see although our color shows through, we got a really fun, cool, obviously holographic effect, but it's a really definitely changes the way the design looks on your actual heat transfer material or what your design looks like overall. So I'm going to go ahead, we'll tear that off there. And then we'll go ahead and take this one off. So let's get into something. While Maya's working away there, I want to also show you guys a really fun technique. So we've showed you how to sublimate onto heat transfer materials and then go ahead and heat apply them on your design and then sublimate. But one of the fun parts about working here at Siser is that we're always looking for new ways to create, to innovate, to make your lives a little bit easier. So a few years ago, again, my buddy Joe had a video where he showed the two-step process on how to do sublimation, which traditionally was contour cutting out your design and then applying that to a garment and then taking your sublimation print, lining that up onto your sublimation or your heat transfer material design, and then going ahead and sublimating that on or getting that color to obviously attach. Well, we've actually found a really fun way with the Juliet and the Romeo high definition cutters on how to actually cut down that process into more of a one step. So I'm really excited to show you that one. And we're gonna actually get into that right now while Maya's kind of chomping away at the design for us here. You know what it reminds me of? When I was in middle school, we had a kid, the entire talent show, his talent was for the entire length of the show, he was gonna hula hoop. And so they kept coming back to him. So we're going to check in on you every few minutes here and see how your progress is. I should have put an overhead cam over there for you. All right. So what we're going to do is I have a print over here that we're going to use. A little good times. Okay. And I have to apologize up front because this is actually one thing that I told you as a pro tip up front is that most sublimation printers automatically mirror your design. Well, when you mirror it in there to combat that, you get your print to show up the right way this way. And then now it's going to be mirrored for us when I actually heat apply it. But it's all good because what we're trying to do is show you this technique, not worried about the actual print itself. So we have our white rainbow glitter, okay? I'm going to just take, like we've been showing you this whole time, I'm going to simply remove the material itself from the carrier, just like that. This time what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay my full sheet down. And as you just saw us do with all the other prints, I'm simply going to sublimate this print. But what you notice about this print, let me go over to the heat press so you can see it a little closer. What you notice about this print versus the other prints is that I actually have registration marks on this print. So with that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually sublimate all of this on down to our glitter material with the registration marks on there so that what we can do is then throw it on over to the cutter. And as long as your cutter will find those crop marks of the glitter material, then you can print and cut directly onto a sublimated piece of heat transfer vinyl. So let's go ahead. We're going to sublimate that on down. Oh, that was quick. Wow, we didn't even have to check in with her. Oh, another cameo. There we go. Look at that. That's how fast. Okay, that's why she's the boss lady. She's quick. All righty. So let's go ahead. We got about 18 seconds left on there. Let's all in the comments shout out Maya for the quick turnaround on the artwork. A little bee and some flowers for funsies. All righty. So now that we've heat applied our material, what we're going to do is I want to let this sit for just a moment. And this is really important of a step. So I can take my actual print off of my material. Okay, so that one we can toss out. And now I'm going to let this print sit for a little bit longer on this nonstick paper because what we want to do is we don't want to affect the integrity of the actual material or the print itself. So what I like to do is pull it right on off of the heat press, kind of rub it around on a table and cool it off like you would with anything else you use maybe like a cooling block for and things like that. So now that that's cool enough, I'm going to simply take my print, lay this flat on the table, make sure that my print doesn't, flap over adhesive to adhesive. And then just like that, I can take my print and I'm actually going to lay it face down on the table. Oops. Let me move this camera down just a little bit for you guys so you can see what I'm doing here. Perfect. So now my print is here. I'm going to lay it face down on the table. I'm going to go ahead and grab that same carrier sheet that I had, and we're going to protect the adhesive side by actually doing what's called reverse laminating or back laminating our heat transfer material. So simple enough. I have my print. I have my my former carrier sheet. Oh, sorry, right there. Sorry. My former carrier sheet is now on the back side or the adhesive side of my print. And I'm going to let that just sit for 1 second so it can continue to cool. We'll adjust that on back. And then now what I'm going to simply do is I'm going to go ahead and grab myself a cutting mat, just like that. And I'm going to apply my design, obviously image up, onto my cutting mat. Okay. So now here's for the real fun as we're wrapping up the live here. We're going to go now on over to the cutter. There we go. And I'm going to load my print. Now, if you notice on the cutter itself, I've actually moved over the pinch wheels. Does it make a difference if the pinch wheels necessarily run over my material? No, because it won't affect the print as the material itself is sublimated now. However, what it can affect is it can affect the actual material itself staying on the cutting mat. So what I want to do is I just want to make sure that I have those out of the way of the print so that they won't fold or mess up my cutting or my actual heat transfer and make it not stick. Secondly to that, what I want to do is I just want to find an empty space, because always we want to obviously test cut, and I want to adjust my cut setting. So I think with glitter, we're going to start at 35. We're going to do a quick little test cut and see what happens at 35. Do we got any questions?
Could you have left it on the parchment paper and then put it on the mat?
So good question. Could I have left it on the parchment paper, put it on the mat? Maybe. However, in testing when we did the original video, so if you are in the neighborhood of YouTube, follow us over at Siser North America. We actually showed this method on a YouTube video. In the testing, it didn't stay down on it. And the other thing too with the parchment paper versus the nonstick sheet, when you're laying it on the bottom, what we found out is that a lot of times it actually tends to stick to that parchment paper. And I don't necessarily know why it's doing it like that, but that was just when we were testing it out. It was happening. Okay, so I got my cut settings now honed in. And I'm just bringing that blade down into that bottom left registration mark. Do you get another one coming in? Okay, cool. I just want to make sure. And then now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hop right into software here. So we're going to go right into Leonardo Design Studio because I already have my design already worked up. So there's the same design we're using. We're going to hit Send Design here. And then now we're going to go down to our cutting step. And because my print, remember, I printed this the right orientation, but because the printer automatically mirrored it, we just have to make sure that our print itself, our cut line in software corresponds with the right orientation of our print. Okay, so because that mirrored, I'm going to mirror it now for the sake of the conversation, but traditionally you'd be able to see it. Okay, so now with that in the bottom registration mark there we go. I'm going to simply hit Send to Cutter. Now what may happen, just so we're all on the same page, if for whatever reason we get one crop mark or registration mark that tends to fail, what we'll be able to do is we'll be able to fix this without any issue kind of moving forward. So with that, you see, even with the glitter material, everything's cutting perfectly fine. It's obviously scanning my image perfectly fine, and it was able to execute it.
Will you be able to do this technique on different cutters?
So yes and no. Okay, and I'm going to come right back on over here. And we're going to go right on this front camera because I like to make sure to make the point. Yes and no. I've had mixed results depending on if you're using a silhouette, if you're using a Cricut. And the real big reason why this works super well in the Juliet and Romeo is that high definition camera is able to see those registration marks. Whereas typically with something that may have more of like an optical eye, it may not be able to register those marks. So for any of you silhouette users out there that have had any of the cameos or any Cricut users, you know the struggle sometimes when you're trying to get something to register and it's just not reading it appropriately. I can tell you that I've had zero issues with Romeo or with Juliet doing any of these techniques, but I have had some hiccups when it comes to the other cutting systems. So just test in your own environment, grab a scrap piece of material, do a smaller design, even a circle, just to ensure that it's going to start to work. But if not, get yourself a Romeo or Juliet. All right, so let me actually go to this camera, and I'm going to bring this down on the table because I'm using the overhead. And let's go in, and I'm just going to weed out some of the cavities here, just to make sure all parts of my design cut perfectly fine. There we go. Got a little tiny hang up right here. So that's the other thing to note with any type of glitter. When you are cutting it after you've heat applied it down to like a non-stick and then taking it off again, sometimes glitter, the adhesive, can get a little gummy, which doesn't allow the blade to travel as cleanly. But as you can see with this print, I mean, I'm peeling all of the edges up and it's peeling perfectly fine. And it looks like it's registered extremely well too. Yes.
Do you have any blade recommendations?
Of course I do. Yeah, and I actually have a little pro tip too that I want to give the audience. So thanks for kind of segueing us into that one. So here you go. Really quick, we'll show you the print. Got that ready to go. And this is already just like we did before. I can simply peel this off of this and we can go ahead and heat apply this. But as you can see on that print, I mean, I'm really trying here as best as I can, guys, but there's no white spaces around the edges of this print. It's a beautiful, beautiful print, and it's a full vibrant print. But this is the way to ensure that, much like a DTV or any other print and cut, to ensure that you're cutting down to the actual design itself, and that you don't have to try to like mirror and mask or lay your design over and make sure it's registered properly to press. You can just press directly on the material with registration marks and cut it out without any issues. Maya's point with the blades. Number one, with any of this technique, especially if you're using like a glitter material or a thicker material, always a 60-degree blade. But I wanted to show you guys this little fun pro tip that I kind of discovered by accident, even though I feel like it's super simple now that I think about it. So most of us in the office will mark our blades with some PSV, and we'll just put a 60-degree or 60 plus for the new deep cut blade. But as you guys can see, I actually just took the little rubber caps off of the blade tips when I got the new blades, cut them in half, and I just stuck them on top of my blade holder. So now I don't even have to think about which one goes to what blade. I know red is my 45, blue is my 60, green is my 60 plus, or is what I like to, or what we call the deep cut blade. So it's just a little fun pro tip that I wanted to bring my blades down from upstairs to show on the live. So maybe you guys can chime in with any of the fun little pro tips you guys have on how either you organize your blades or you organize your prints too. Alrighty, what questions do we have coming in?
So with that design, you don't have to mask it in order to apply.
You don't have to.
But if you had a more complicated design, what would you recommend?
Ooh, so for that one, TTD high-tack mask. So the TTD high-tack mask, that's also what we have in the video listed as well. That's been giving us the best results to actually grab it. And the big reason why to TTD with the high-tack with a glitter is glitter has a rougher surface to it. Think of it, and I think I said it a few weeks ago and it kind of hit with everybody, but it's like, think of it as like 600 grit sandpaper. It's super smooth to the touch, but you know that there's something there. And so when you are using a low tack mask, or maybe you're using something like an easy sublim mask, which is more of a porous mask, it doesn't have tendency to actually stick down to the material to be able to lift it. So TTD high tack has been the best for us here at Siser. Any other questions coming in?
Can you just do a brief description as to why this technique is a nice one in comparison to other techniques, or why people might want to do other techniques?
Yeah, for sure. So with that, if I have a traditional print, okay, and I want to say print out a sublimate, do a full color so you guys can see good. Do a full color print and then have a secondary piece of heat transfer vinyl that's cut out to match this print. What made it really difficult in the past is, although it works extremely well to be able to apply it and sublimate after it's been pressed to a garment, what we found out is that sometimes it's hard to register or line up your design. So what that ended up doing for a lot of us is cutting really, really close to the edge of our material, or really close to the actual outside contour. Well, some of you know that do work in the sublimation world or do sublimation prints. Anytime you have a sublimation print, you should always have additional white space around your print, because you will get some of that ghosting as the inks gas out from a solid state. They gas out, you'll actually get some of that ghosting. So by having some additional white space, it prevents that from then bleeding on to your garment itself if you have some kind of polyester count. The reason why this technique works so well is because we're using the same method that we would with a regular print and cut to be able to, first off, apply to our heat transfer material and sublimate with those registration marks. And again, take it on over to our cutter and be able to cut it out. There's many, many techniques out there in the sublimation world. There's also, we've been showing you a lot of soft goods. There's also really fun ways to be able to create hard good items in anything that is like considered. And you always have to check with your manufacturer where you're buying your blanks from, that it is a sublimatable blank or it accepts sublimation inks, okay? But this is a good example of like a hard good that you can make a little fun license plate, which I expect Adam to have on his car by tomorrow. I'm just throwing it out there. No, I'm just kidding. All right. So really quickly, Maya did an awesome job by hooking us up with a fun little design that she made on the fly. Let's go ahead and press this one out, and then I think we're ready to wrap it up. Good? All right. Any last minute questions you guys have, knock them out, and we will we'll answer them as we go.
Did you go through all of the different ways that you can use the sublimation markers?
I didn't. Oh, I think I just glossed over it because I was making you do the work for me. Sorry. So another really fun way, thank you for the reminder too as well. So another really fun way that we can actually use those sublimation markers. Do you have them over there or did you give them back? Just throw me one or two of them. It's fine. Just pack. Thank you. Thank you. Another way that we can use the sublimation markers as well is that if you do have a Romeo or a Juliet, see, I'm thinking of like all cutters. I'm not thinking of just them buying ours. So with a Juliet or a Romeo, you get this fancy schmancy little tool in here. Go ahead on the heat, or we'll go on the cutter cam. Get this fancy McSchmancy little tool right here. And this is actually a marker adapter that works with the Siser sublimation markers. Also works with barrel style pens as well. Okay, so what you can do is you can take the top off of your marker itself. And then what you can do is you can just set your marker inside of that marker adapter. And then you can go ahead and just insert it into your cutter itself. Grab yourself a piece of paper. I'm just going to flip this one over for sake of conversation. Load it on into your cutter. Just like that, and then we can get actually down to drawing it out. Actually, what I'll do for you, let's just change the cut setting real low here. And we'll do a little test cut for you guys because everybody loves a little test cut option. So as you can see, we're just drawing with the marker, and then there's our little test cut, a little design that we drew, a little t-shirt. So it's another method or another way that you can use the sublimation markers as well. So let's go ahead, one last press here before we end the live. And we thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. Thank you so much for attending all of these classes. And I'm really excited about next week as I'm going to press this out and talk. Really excited about next week because Stephanie is actually going to be showing all things applique or embroidery, right? Doing a full embroidery class next week. So that's going to be really fun. So for anybody that might be wanting to dip a toe in embroidery, maybe you want to learn a thing or two about it, I know that Stephanie's going to be teaching a really awesome class while the rest of the team is over at ISA and hanging out over there. And then after that, we're going to be coming right back to you here in studio the second week in June. Or is it June next month? Or is it May? May next month, sorry. The second week in May to then go over the next fun class that we got planned for you. So let's go ahead and heat apply this. Press that out. What did we decide on next for May? What comes up after Stephanie's class? Mike. You can't remember? I'm sorry.
I can't remember. I'm sorry.
All right. That's all right. That's all right. We'll go back to the document and we'll find it. I think it's in the document if you have the full class lineup. All righty. We got about 16 more seconds here. Let's see who's chiming into. Looking forward to that. Yes, Janice, I'll be honest with you, I love watching Stephanie's techniques. We actually had, when Stephanie first started here at Siser, we knew she was an embroidery expert. So she got a chance to teach the entire company all things embroidery and applique. She even yelled at me for using her embroidery scissors on fabric. I didn't know that was a thing at the time, but I learned a lesson and I'm happy I did it. But that just kind of goes to show you that not only do we like to educate you guys, this showed ghosting really great. We like to educate you guys, but we like to make sure that we have the knowledge here in-house as well. Secondary to that, we also had a screen print expert come in and teach our entire team about screen printing. So there you go right there on the parchment paper that we use. You can see that this is actually the original design that Maya made, the original print. But you can see there's a design on that side and how much that migrates through the back or moves through the back of that paper. Well, if I were to go ahead and press this again on this garment, I could actually risk repressing this design on a second time, which again is called ghosting. So let's see what the print looked like. There we go. Look at how cutesy bootsy that is. Nice. Thanks, Maya. All righty. All right, my son's texted me 12 times now. Should we answer it and just make him talk on the live? All righty. So that is the world of sublimation. That is everything, I think, from our brains to your TV or your computer or your phone if you're watching us. from our brains to you of all things sublimation. Is there anything we missed? I think we covered everything. Cool. All right, we'll give literally 2 minutes for any last minute questions, anything big, important questions you guys are asking. But if you guys don't have any more questions, you know that you can always reach out to us at info@siserna.com, or you can follow us everywhere at Siser. And I do see that somebody asked about, really quick, that was a great question from Diane. Can you color in adult coloring books and use that to sublimate on clothes? Do you want to answer?
You can use
There we
the
go.
sublimation markers to color coloring book style. However, the inks or the print that is in the coloring book would not transfer. So you would
Bingo.
need to go over it with the black sublimation print
Yep.
or ink markers in order to actually have that transfer over as well. Or you can trace it. And
Or
then
scan it
other
on-
ways to do
Yeah.
that is also to use the black sublimation markers in a cutter in order to make your own adult coloring book
Mhm.
and then be able to color in with the other marker.
And I'm glad that you mentioned that, because to follow up with that, on the Siser Sublimation Markers page on our website, we actually have some coloring pages for you just to be able to download. So you can click any of these, download it to your own computer. You can get the kids involved with sublimation. You can get them involved with creating. And actually, there's like floral. That's cool. There's a floral alphabet and a space one. So there's a lot of really, really fun ways that you can not only use sublimation with whatever you're designing or whatever you're doing, whether it's a hobby or this is a full-blown business, or again, like maybe you're just dipping a toe and you came to live to do some research and said, Pat, thanks, because I got all the information I need now to feel like I can do this stuff. So with that, like I said, you always can reach out to us. Well, guys, thank you so much for not only another fun After Dark, but thanks for hanging out with me. 8 p.m. our time here on the East Coast. And, you know, you guys are at 5. You guys still got plenty of day.